While many Americans know that fentanyl is smuggled into the country, into the United States, few understand how the trade is financed or how illicit profits move through the U.S. financial system. Joining us now to discuss this is Emel Akan, senior White House correspondent at the Epoch Times. Good afternoon, Emel. And what exactly do Chinese money laundering networks help Mexican drug cartels move money through U.S. banks?
Yes, Don, as you said, this is a serious issue, and this is something that Americans don't really understand because we know fentanyl crisis is a big issue. We understand that drugs are smuggled through the border, but many people do not understand how this bad business, how this deadly business is being financed and enabled through Chinese money laundering networks. And this is a crucial uh, thing that many people are not aware of. And this is not a new thing. This has been going on for a long time. As you know, when the drug is sold in the United States, cartels accumulate mountains of cash. They have US dollar. They cannot move this US dollar, this money to Mexico easily. So they turn to Chinese money laundering networks that help them clean that money. So they do a lot of sophisticated transactions to hide the money, to hide the profit, and through their scheme, make the money look clean, like a legitimate business. And that's how they come into the picture, and that's how they actually fuel this fentanyl crisis in the country.
So, how much money are we talking about here? How much is being moved? What is the scope?
So this is a very important question. Last week, Treasury Department uh, issued a report uh, explaining how the system works, and it was really helpful. That was a report from Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and they found that $300 billion in the past 5 years moved through U.S. financial system uh, through the Chinese money laundering networks. So I feel this is tip of the iceberg. So I think this is way higher than what is being disclosed because some of these transactions are not easily found, are not easily monitored by the banking system. So I feel like this is not the whole amount. This is bigger than that, and it's a big issue. And it's unfortunately being done by this Chinese underground banking system, which has become one of the biggest money laundering network in the world.
And Amel, I'm wondering if we can get into the details here. Why do Mexican cartels rely on Chinese money laundering networks rather than Mexico's own banking system?
This is an amazing question. This is very important because Mexico has its laws, internal domestic regulations that do not allow cartels to deposit large amounts of US dollar in Mexican banks. So what they have to do is they turn to these money laundering networks inside the US run by Chinese. Uh, Simply, what they do is they transfer their money to these networks. And this Chinese system has a huge global footprint. So it's not just in the United States; they're operating in other countries as well. So their counterparts, their network partners in Mexico, transfers the money in pesos to Mexican cartels. So that's how simply it is done. There are other ways to do it as well. They use cryptocurrencies, but because of the regulations inside Mexico, they have to rely on Chinese money laundering networks. And this alliance is getting bigger, and they are more and more relying on these networks as they sell more drugs and fentanyl in the country.
So I was looking at your article on the Epoch Times website on this issue, and one point I would like to discuss is, these operations rely on someone on the ground in the U.S. to carry the money, right? Known as money mules. Can you talk to us more about that? Who often gets recruited into these networks?
These are Chinese citizens living in the United States. They could be small business owners, they could be retirees, or they could be students. And more students are being pulled into the system. Some of them know what they're doing, some of them don't know, according to the report. But they are the best target for these money laundering networks. They open account in the United States. They do their transactions under the label of, tuition or living expenses. So, and they are helping money laundering networks to deposit these amounts. The cartels can deposit small amount of money into these accounts, open account by the students, and that's how they are used as money mules. That's what they are called, money mules, and that's how they move the money. That's one part of the problem and part of the system, how they do uh, run their operations. And unfortunately, students in the United States, Chinese students in the United States, are becoming part of it. And the report also says that even after graduation, they continue to work for these money launderers.
I'm wondering, what does China get out of this? What does CCP linked groups benefit from the trade?
This is the other part of the equation. So what China needs is US dollar. Cartels don't want the US dollar, so they hand over the US dollar. Chinese citizens need the US dollar because of their capital restrictions. There is a restriction on foreign currency holding. There is also a restriction about how much you can transfer to outside of China. So that's why many Chinese people, citizens, um, are uh, are desperate for US dollars. So that's why they also rely on these underground banking system, Chinese underground system, and they create this win-win, situation for both cartels and for money launderers, because Chinese people want the dollar and cartels don't need the dollar. They want to, give away the dollar. So that's how this network works, basically matching these people's needs.
Okay, Mel, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'll just ask one more thing. What has been the response of the US government?
Well, U.S. government has been quiet about this money laundering network so far, and we haven't seen many people expressing this. But as we know, President Trump has imposed 20% tariff because of the fentanyl crisis uh, coming from China. As we know, China is importing these precursors for fentanyl that are being produced in Mexico. Uh, that's one of the reasons why the tariffs are being imposed. But also, this underground banking system networks are not really well addressed. Uh, we know that this report that came out issued by the Treasury Department is the first step to address this problem. And they are actually asking banks to be more careful and watch for red flags in the system. They want to do more, but I think this could be seen as a first step by the US government by issuing this report and warning banks that they should be more careful and monitor these transactions.
Okay, Emel, thank you so much for reporting on this topic and pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you.